Hey Sky fam, it's your girl Ariel Briz and welcome back to my channel. I have a little story time for y'all because y'all have to know about this. This was literally one of the craziest things I feel like to happen to me, and it still blows my mind to this day. So let me set the scene. I was working aft on an ERJ, and so if you know the ERJ, that's the only aircraft we have. That's like our mainline aircraft because there's a galley in the front and there's a galley in the back. Each flight attendant has their own galley. The thing with the back galley is there's usually 4 atlases, right? And one usually ends up being empty for whatever reason. They just do not stock it, but of course there has to be an atlas in that place. And so typically, since there's not a place for me to put my duffel, because I carry 2 bags with me. I carry like a little duffel and then I carry my suitcase. Since there's not like a little place for me to put my duffel in the back galley, I usually have my little bag that was given to me in training with all of my required items. And if I had, at that time, I was still carrying my little lunchbox, which I still use from time to time. It just depends how long my trips are. So I put that little black bag with my required items and my lunchbox in one of the atlases, okay? So we get back to Chicago. My things are in there, right? I get off the aircraft a little bit because we have a little bit of a sit. And I realized that after I come back that we got service, like we got catered. And so it dawns on me that they would have switched the atlases. And sometimes they look inside, sometimes they don't. So I go to the back of the aircraft to look and see if my belongings are still in the atlas. And you may have guessed it, but the atlas was empty. They replaced the before atlas that would have been empty that I then put my required items in. And I keep my passport in that bag too, and my lunchbox. Needless to say, I'm now illegal to fly because the only required item that I have on me now is my badge and my EFAD. That's it. My passport, my cashless sales, my IOQR, all of that in the bag. That's nowhere, I don't know where it is at this time. So that was great. So I had to notify my captain that my belongings were no longer on the aircraft. I was illegal to fly and that we needed to track down my things. I was able, at least with that airline that we fly, the ERJ, we actually fly the ERJ on 2 airlines now. When I was in training, we only flew it on 1 carrier, but now we fly it on 2. So luckily, and one of them has apps that we use and one of them doesn't. So the one that does have apps, luckily we were using one of those. And so I was able to contact, you can talk to like customer service, you can talk to the gate agent, and you can chat with like grounds crews through the function, through the app on our EFAD. So luckily I had my EFAD on me at the minimum. And so I was able to chat with them and tell them that my required items were in an atlas that just got serviced and like the aircraft and everything. I had to call like my manager on duty, which I've never had to do before. I've never had to call, like, oh my gosh, it was just like so much going on. And the flight was already a little bit delayed for whatever reason. I can't remember, but it was already a little bit delayed. And I literally cannot fly, y'all. I can't fly. I don't have the majority, more than half. Like I basically don't have all of my required items except for my badge and EFAD. And really, the biggest thing to me was my passport was in there. And frankly, now I don't put my passport in there. Not that I will ever make the mistake of putting my required items into an atlas ever, but like, that was my biggest thing, because even outside of work, like, I need that. Y'all know me. I need my passport. Like, that's dire. So yeah, we are, I don't even know why we started boarding, because I feel like we shouldn't have, because technically I wasn't a legal flight attendant. So I don't know how that really works, but we did start boarding, but there is no way that we could close the door, push back, do any of that until my situation was resolved. I didn't know if I was gonna have to come off the aircraft. I didn't know if they were gonna have to replace me with a ready reserve. I just did not know. I was in limbo. I was on hold with like everyone. I think I was on the phone with IFC like in flight. Because I don't think my manager answered the first call, so I called in-flight next, and then they were like, yeah, this is serious. And I'm like, yeah, I know. And then my manager called like right back, and I was on the phone with her, and they were trying to see everything that they could do on their end. They were also communicating with grounds to try to see if they could track down the exact catering bus that had came up to our aircraft, so it would still have, like, I realized it not too long after, so it would have still had to have the atlas that they took off on the like actual truck that pulls up. Y'all, the flight is delayed at this point, and the gate agent comes walking down the aisle with my 2 bags, with my lunchbox and my bag with my required items, and I was just like, I could have melted into the ground at that moment, because I was just so thankful that it was able to get tracked down, and as quickly as it did too, because that could have gone so, it did go wrong fast, but it could have been a whole lot worse. And she was like, no, like, you're lucky that we were able to track it down. And the manager is like, my manager's calling me back, and she's like, we're trying to track it. I'm like, no, I just got it, I'm fine, we're about to close the door, like, we're gonna go. But like, y'all, I was going through it. Even thinking back on this, I don't even remember what month this happened. This had to be maybe in November when this happened, and I've been meaning to sit down and give y'all a story time of this, and I probably didn't even deliver as good as I could. But like, y'all, I will never forget that I really opened the atlas and it was just empty, and I'm like, oh, where's all my, like, But luckily I was able to get everything back, and we were able to work the flight, because the last thing I wanted was to be taken off of that, or to even delay the flight even more. But that was crazy. I just could not believe that that happened. So as a warning to all of y'all, if you are like me and you would put items into the empty atlas, and you're going to a catering station and you are getting off the aircraft, even if you're not getting off the aircraft, I would just go ahead and take your important items and put them like on the counter or something, so that they're not taken. Learn from my mistakes, because never in my life, in my born life, as my grandma would say, will I ever put my required items in an atlas ever again. Ever. I'm never doing it again. It will not happen. Like, I'll just have to, because usually I don't put my duffels in an overhead bin. I usually put it in the closet, in some sort of closet. So even like the flight I work today, there's like the 2 closets in the back of the aircraft. It's one of those, not orientations, but configurations. And I'll usually put it in there. I don't usually like to take up overhead space with my little duffel. I only like to put my suitcase up there, and usually there's something in my duffel that especially if it's a longer flight, which ERJ flights usually are a little longer flights, there might be something I want to take out of there sometime during the flight. But y'all, especially like food or something, that's why I have my lunchbox back there. So like, if I needed to snack on something, I could snack on something, and then I have everything within reach, because your required items like your IOQR always has to be within reach, right? And so yeah, be better than me. I think that's what my whole channel is about, is showing y'all my experiences so y'all can be better. Be better, Jesus. That's my story time for the day. I hope you enjoyed. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and see y'all on the next video.